Hello and good evening, and welcome back to the second season of TFF Talks. I'm your host, Danny Cook, and tonight is the sixth episode in our all new series. And we are reflecting on the weekend's footballing action, including, of course, the World Cup qualifiers. But before we begin, this show is sponsored by Classic 11 shirts and brought to you by Crofer Media and halftimecuppa.com. You can find all the links in the description below. And if you are watching live tonight via YouTube, please do send in your questions and views to us in either the YouTube chat section or to us via Twitter at officialTFF. And we plan to read these out throughout the show, so please do send them in. Don't forget that you can, of course, catch up on all the previous shows. You can do so via YouTube or via Audio Boom. However, our Audio Boom service may not be lasting for too much longer due to a variety of reasons, which we'll go into at a later date. This evening, though, I'm joined by S.A. Agboye, who supports a team that is cursed by a golden trophy. S.A., welcome back. Okay, S.A. still cursed by this golden trophy. He's quiet on this, so hopefully he'll pop back in a moment or two. In the meantime, we will welcome our second panelist. It is indeed Josh Keeble-Wells, who needs no introduction, a TFF Talks legend, and famously claims that Arsenal are a small club. Josh, welcome back.
Good evening, mate.
Good evening. How are you?
Well, I'm okay. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm not too bad. Why are you okay?
The Jules got thumped yesterday, didn't they?
Nah. Well, thumped. It was only 1-0, wasn't it?
Have a shot on target.
Oh, okay. Okay, fair enough. We will definitely come on to that in due course. So I'm sure you've got some emotions that you want to let out and vent your feelings. So keep them parked for now. But joining Josh tonight, we have Will Lindsay, a third-year university student at UCFB Wembley, an aspiring media professional who works for the FA. And joining Will, we have Charlie as well. Charlie, a UCFB student who coaches with Kinja and is a Brighton fan. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Evening. Thank you, Danny.
Good. And, of course, joining them, we have Alex Hutt, who is a guest. I believe this is your first show, Alex, if he is still with you guys.
It is my first show. Cheers for having me, Danny.
That's all right. So he's also a university student at UCFB Wembley, doing a broadcast degree, I believe. And I'm trying to recap. Who's your favourite club, Hutt?
Well, it depends what day you ask me. Sometimes it's Coventry, sometimes it's Man City.
Ah, yes. I thought it was City. Fair enough. And that pretty much concludes the panel for now. But we do have Max Hayes, who should hopefully be joining us later on in the show, who is founder of Matchday with Max and head of social media at halftimecuppa.com, and also works for Nottingham Forest. So he's doing pretty well for himself at the moment. Okay, well, on to tonight's main topic. And, of course, looking back at the weekend, the big games that have taken place have been in the World Cup qualifiers. So let's start off with England, of course, the Three Lions. We're going to go to Will Lindsay first. Will, what should our expectation be heading into Russia?
I wouldn't go in with any expectations, to be honest. We haven't really got a solid team that's going to potentially win it. So it's all kind of taking chances on the players we have and just see where we can get, to be honest. Hello? Oh. Technical difficulties.
Danny, can you still hear us, mate?
I can still hear, but Danny's got his mic muted, so...
Quick, someone take over as host.
How is that? Okay, that's an interesting one. I was just talking to myself for a minute.
Seamless, absolutely seamless.
I mean, I was just muting, just trying to bring down SA's mic there, and I don't know what's happened, but it seems to have muted mine. Seamless, as you say.
Good stuff.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, what I did say to myself, and what I was meant to say to Charlie was, do you agree with Will?
Well, I think the best thing with England is to expect as little as possible, and if anything else happens, then accept it. I think the last year's Euros kind of showed that we can play really well at times, and we can play really badly at times. I think it's just difficult to know which team's going to turn up.
Okay, is SA there now?
Can you hear me fine?
Yes, I can hear you fine. That's fantastic. SA, what's your thoughts on this? What's our expectations for obviously the World Cup next year?
I think England should take their targets on round 16. Then if we make round 16, build on from there. Because I think saying that we should just about make it out the group stages. Now that's not good enough.
So just sort of making it out the group stages is just not good enough for you. What should be our minimum expectation then, SA?
Quarterfinals at best.
Quarterfinals at best. Okay, Josh, let's bring in Josh Keeper-Wells. Josh, what's your thoughts? Should we be doing better than quarterfinals? Or
listen, on the international stage, there's some good teams out there. I mean, you know, especially with the World Cup, Brazil, France, Italy, Spain, amongst many others. So I'd say quarterfinals is probably as far as we'd get. But in reality, I'm not expecting us to get out of the group, no matter who's in it. We could have a group.
That?
Well, Danny, this is the thing. We've got a team full of underperformers. That's literally the only reason. You could fill our team with Syria, Egypt, and one other team, and we still wouldn't get out of the group. That's the problem.
And what do you put that down to then? What you're saying, the likes of Egypt, Syria, you're basically saying we could have anyone in this group and we're not going to get out of a group. But what would you put that down to? Who bears the brunt of that blame?
Well, I think with the England team, there's a lot of yes men indeed, and it doesn't help that we've got Gareth Southgate as manager, because personally, like, looking down the list of championship teams, would he be able to manage a few of those? Maybe two at a push. You know, it's like how many championship teams would actually take Southgate as their manager? Not many, personally, I'd think. But yeah, too many yes men for me. Okay,
that's fair enough. Let's bring in Hut now, Alex. Let's hear your views. You're obviously you're American, so you're probably a bit more of a neutral on this. What's your views on England and how they should expect to perform in the World Cup?
Yeah, well, let's give it a start by. I'm definitely not full American, just because I've got the citizenship. I always want England to do better than everybody else. But
good man.
Moving on to the question, I think I'm quite an optimist. I like to think that the sky is the limit for this England squad. But my issue is that when you've got so many different teams playing so many different styles of football throughout all different leagues and wherever we decide to source our national team players from, you'll never have the ability to, I don't know, create an England style of football, which sounds quite yada statement, but it's the only way I can think of putting it. No. So I think that as long as there's so many different teams playing so many different styles of football, like I said, England will never be able to successfully compete at the top level. I'm not saying that we don't have the players, though, because I think the likes of Harry Kane is a world-class striker. Dele Alli, I think, has the potential to be a world-class playmaker. Kyle Walker, one of the best right-backs in the world. And we're not short for good goalkeepers like Butland and Forster and people like that. Notice how I've left Hart out of that list. But so I really do think that England has the potential to be a successful team, especially in major tournaments. But until they find a style of football that suits the players that they have, then I don't think they'll ever be able to succeed.
Yeah, I have to agree with Hart on that one. Watching the England game the other night, we were at Wembley, and we just don't play to Harry Kane's strengths at all. He touches the ball once or twice a half. He'll try and make a half opportunity for himself. But you watch him for Spurs, him and Dele Alli are the main core of that team. And that's what we have to do. We have to make Harry Kane, as he is our best player, the core strength of our team and play around him.
And just bouncing off of what I said as well, something that Charlie alluded to, we don't have a real captain in our team either. As much as we've given the captain's armband to Harry Kane, now that Wayne Rooney's retired, I don't think there's a real leader in the squad. And I'm not really sure where we're going to get that from.
Just give me a moment. There's some technical issues.
I'm not saying all that again.
No. We've got all that. We've got all that. But I'm going to open this to the floor. I want to find out your opinions on maybe England's style, how we should approach the play. Because as you say, I think you guys have sort of. I think what you guys are sort of implying is that we have no style of play, or there's no clear style of how we play compared to, say, how a Spanish team would play, how a Germany side would play, how the Brazilians would play. So I'm opening it to the floor. What sort of thoughts on the style of play that England should play going into World Cup 2018?
England play better when they're pressing. They play better when they're against a better opposition. When we've been playing these games against people like Lithuania and Slovenia, when we have the majority of the ball, it's almost like we don't know what we're supposed to do with it. Whereas when we do have those little sparks of excitement, wenover they do decide to turn it on a little bit, we're very good when we go forward quickly and try and, outplay the back line. Yeah, as Lindsay just said, it's quite similar to the way Liverpool play, and I completely agree with that. So I think, as strange as this might sound, I'd rather us draw better opposition in the group stages of the World Cup, because I think that's how we'll progress.
If I can jump in.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, you're talking about having our biggest players, or actually, if you look at our biggest players and our most exciting players, they're in our front line. You have Marcus Rashford, you have Harry Kane, you have Dele Alli. Last night, actually, the system we played allowed those three to attack on the counter and be quite fluid. There was one period of play which just actually was some of the best play I've seen involved. And I think actually we need to start looking at being like, we've tried to play everyone else's style of football. We've played in the 4-2-3-1. We've tried to play the style of football where we build through the phases. And honestly, I don't think that's something that these players are actually capable of doing. I think we are far better, like Hutt says, trying to be snappy, trying to build quickly, trying to catch things out.
I also think at the moment we're lacking that transitional midfielder. So when we played at Wembley, we had Henderson and Dyer in midfield. We're playing a team that sit back. There's no real creativity from Henderson and Dyer. They're both quite defensive players and will play the simple ball out. Whereas you're missing someone like Adam Lallana who can sit in that midfield, get involved with the attack and bring the defence to attack, because we don't have that transition at the moment.
Okay, let's bring in Josh Keeble-Wells now, because I'm sure he's got some views as well. Josh?
Well, yeah, the nail's been hit on the head with we don't have a style and we don't have any leaders in this squad. All of that is absolutely spot on. Thing is, where we don't have a style, we try and just pass the ball. Literally, that's all we try and do is pass the ball. And when we do that, it's so slow. And that's why you get a lot of people saying it's boring to watch England, because the passing's slow, there's no urgency. And as I say, we just try and copy other teams' style. We try and be like Spain, and we're nothing like Spain. As I said, again, missing Adam Lallana, we need that creative spark. For me, Dele Alli, hasn't done it enough for England of recent. For me, he looks a different player in a Spurs shirt to what he does in an England shirt. We don't play to Harry Kane's strengths. Whereas if you look at Portugal, I know it's totally different because Ronaldo's out of this world. But Portugal plays Ronaldo's strengths. They play for Ronaldo. Which I think we should be doing with Harry Kane, because there's no doubt in my mind this fella is world class. Absolutely world class, and he's going to be in the England setup for years and years. So
Yeah.
we should start playing to his strengths. He's a young lad, and for me, world class already. So start playing to his strengths now.
Yeah, I think I recall us talking about him in the past, saying how you'd have him at West Ham, sort of in a heartbeat, really, wouldn't you?
Oh, without a doubt, he's one of the best players in the Premier League. Of course, I'd have him at West Ham.
Okay, and SA, you've been pretty quiet. You must have some views on how England should play, surely.
Yeah, some people said, adding to what Josh said, I think people expecting England to play like another team, it just doesn't work. I mean, it also reminds me about Eddie Jones' obsession with trying to match New Zealand. You can't match another team. It's just not possible. I mean, the best thing to do is stick with your own plan. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, look to plan B. But stick with your own plan rather than copying another nation.
Interesting. A question that sort of came into my head just off the back of what Esso's just sort of said. Honestly, do you guys feel that Gareth Southgate will be here still as England manager come the end of the World Cup?
No, because we'll finish bottom of our group with 0 points.
Well, I'm not too sure about that. I think we've definitely got the ability to progress as far as we want. Like I said before, I don't think Southgate is definitely the long-term solution to the England manager dilemma, but I don't think he's a bad manager. I think he's shown that he's able to perform on big levels with his work with the England youth teams and things like that. But England's definitely not going to finish bottom. Let's be honest here. They've got the ability to score some goals, and anytime you've got players like Harry Kane, team Raheem Sterling on the wing, whipping the balls into him and all that, you're always going to have one chance. And with, I keep saying Harry Kane, I think he's that good. With him in that team, you'll always be able to find the back of the net in some capacity.
I mean, again, you've just mentioned Harry Kane, guys. Do we sort of feel that he is going to be the figurehead of this England team for a couple of years to come?
Yeah, I'd say so. He's our only world-class player in the squad at the moment. I feel like everyone around him is very up and coming. I think Dele Alli in a couple of years will be our best player, and he will be the player that we will look to create things and score goals. But the form that Kane is on at the moment and his scoring record in the Premier League, I think this World Cup we will perhaps be very reliant on Kane. But I think we've got the creativity with Rashford, Sterling, we've got Chamberlain, hopefully hits some form to actually find Kane and get those goals ticking over.
Can I just interject there?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I think whilst it's important to use Harry Kane as the main man, it's also important that we don't use him as the poster boy for England's failure, like we did with Wayne Rooney in the past, if you know what I mean. Because at past tournaments, every time England fail, it always seems to be Wayne Rooney's fault, and we don't want that to happen with Harry Kane. So
if I can jump in.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that comments is a very negative way of going into it. You want to go into it positive and saying, okay, we have real talent in this squad. We have Harry Kane, who's won the Golden Boot in what is arguably the most difficult division in the world. And we're saying, oh, let's not be too supportive of him, because if he doesn't perform like others haven't, then we've got to get on his back. I don't think that's how it is. I think we've just got to be positive. You've just got to make sure that we go in there and we say we have got quite a young squad when you look at other squads around. So we've got to go and we've got to look at his players and say, look, you go, you play your football, be natural, and the media needs to get behind the team and look at ways we can take them down.
Can I just one more thing about Gareth Southgate as an England manager, going back to the question, Danny?
Yep.
Most people on this podcast have just said that we should stop trying to be like other countries. So we shouldn't go for a foreign manager in that case. We should stick with an English manager, someone like Allardyce, someone like Gareth Southgate, and try and play the English way of football if we're going to move forward that way.
Okay, who said that?
That was
that's not what I meant. what I meant is that of course England could go for a foreign or English manager. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which nationality the manager is. All I'm saying it is that England shouldn't like copy other nations' styles of play.
Yeah, but the only reason that you were saying that is because we weren't saying it doesn't have to be blah blah blah. What we're saying is that it needs to be an English manager in order for the England team to get an English style of football. England. So I think we're not saying that a foreign manager wouldn't be capable of doing the job, but we're saying if we're going to find a national identity in terms of football, then we're going to need an English person to sort that out for us, because obviously we're no longer in that phase of let's just knock the ball up the pitch to Big Crouchy up top and see what he can do. Even
just pause it there for now. Crouchy, what a reference to Crouchy. I've just put a poll out on our Twitter page, so it's @officialTFF. I want to know how you guys think England will get on in the World Cup. So I've put down 4 things. I've gone optimistic, win the World Cup, semi-finals / quarterfinals, the knockout rounds, or don't make it out of the group. So please do let me know. Please vote in the poll. It's got about 20 minutes, so it'll finish just before the end of the show, and we'll bring you the results live on that. SA, I'll cut you off there. SA, do you want to just respond, and then we're going to move on to Scotland?
No, I have nothing else to say, to be honest.
Nothing else to say? Okay, we'll move on to Scotland then. So, unfortunately, Scotland were narrowly close to making it to a second place playoff. Unfortunately, they didn't quite make it with a 2-2 draw. So my first question to Josh is it time for Gordon Strachan to go?
I think they should keep him just for banter purposes.
You think?
just because it'd be funny.
Is that a solid ground?
I mean, of course, if I was Scottish, you'd want him to go, wouldn't you? That's 2 tournaments in a row now, where they've not even really looked threatening or looked close to getting there. For me, they're not good enough. They lack a bit of quality, and Strachan, for me, wasn't the man to take him to Russia.
Okay, and let's bring in Charlie Pumphrey.
Yeah. If I jump in there, I agree with the crux of what Josh is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Scotland, they haven't got the greatest league in the world, have they? They haven't got the greatest players. Let's not be silly. You need someone to come in there who's able to bring a small club together and is able to create an atmosphere there where they can go into a qualifying campaign like Wales have done, like Northern Ireland have done. And to be honest, like Josh was saying, Gordon Strachan has gotten together, but he's made some pretty bad decisions when it comes to the best players. Griffiths being left out in specific.
Yeah, I was going to mention. I was listening to a clip from Radio 5 Live, and a very disgruntled Scottish fan called in and basically sort of said, "Well, why is he putting Championship players? Like, why has he got them in the first team and benching players who play Champions League football?" I mean, what do you make of that, Will? Will?
Sorry, Danny, what was that point?
That's all right. So we was obviously talking Gordon Strachan, and he, for some Scottish fans, maybe made some controversial calls. For one of those being sort of playing Championship players in favour of players who play Champions League football.
Well, I guess in his defence, he's going for players that he knows. He's going for players that he can trust in the squad that he's played with before. But in terms of Champions League, you're talking players for like Celtic and that. Charlie said, the Scottish League isn't that great. Like, you look at the mid-table teams in Scotland, and the Championship players are much better than that standard. Because quite frankly, the English leagues are 2-3 steps above what the Scottish League is, and the two Scottish teams at the top, just I don't know, the Championship players I feel would walk straight into those teams at some point.
Interesting. Hut, what's your thoughts?
I entirely agree with Will. I think the Championship is quite a large step above the Scottish League, if I'm brutally honest. The top level Scottish League, that is. There are 2 or 3 teams, Rangers, Celtic, Hibs, people like that are probably good enough to where Scotland should maybe focus. I don't know. It's a tough topic to say because it's almost like they should, if they want to be successful at the international level, it's almost like they should source more of the funding towards the teams that they know are going to do well. But then obviously that would take away from the league. So then it brings up the debate between league and national team and how the Scottish public and how the Scottish League would want to compromise that. Obviously that's way too in depth for a 1 hour podcast for us to get into. But I think it's safe to say that Scotland will never be able to compete at the top level until they start to back some of their lesser teams and create a more competitive league.
Interesting. And yeah, as you say, I personally feel Scotland are at the other end of that debate. You've obviously got this debate of in terms of England with the Premier League and how many English players play regularly and all this sort of thing. Scotland, unfortunately, are at the other end of that sort of debate. So yeah, I can see where you're going with that. Let's go to SA. SA, what's your thoughts? Should Gordon Strachan go?
No, I don't think he should go. But having said that, one comment of it is that to me a little bit was that he was saying that Scotland were genetically weren't strong enough or something along the lines of that. Well, speaking about genetics, I thought, what? What does he mean by that? I have no idea what he means by not genetically strong enough. I don't know what he means by that. Like,
I don't have a clue either. Don't have a clue. And you say he said that in an interview?
Yeah, in the
press conference. Okay. That's an interesting one. Do you think that maybe that's a sort of an excuse to get away with it?
Nah, I don't think he's using it as an excuse or anything. But having said that, no. I mean, honestly, I'm trying to think about what he meant by that, but I just do not know.
If I just jump in there, Danny.
Jump in.
I think as good as he could do in the future, Gordon Strachan, or like you can see like future development, I believe that the nation itself has lost faith in the manager. And I feel like that, even though he might have credentials and he could take them somewhere, when a nation or when fans lose faith in you, it's very hard to get that back on side. And with what he's working with, he's going to struggle.
Okay, and a counter question to that then. How can he go about winning the fans back?
In terms of winning the fans back, I mean, it's as simple as qualifying for one of these major tournaments, I believe, because they're, at the moment, having struggled for the last two, whereas arguably they should have qualified for this one. He's got to do the talking on the pitch, really. There's nothing he can say and come out in a press conference and say, we're going to do this, and the fans will suddenly be over their heels and expecting great things. Like, it's got to be, the next stage is the next Euros. And if they don't qualify for that, then where does he leave himself? But I don't think that you can have someone that's failed twice. You've got to change it up.
Yeah, Scottish Football Association certainly in an interesting position there. We will have to wait and see what they do regarding that. Moving on to one of the other home nation sides briefly, Northern Ireland. also made it through. So let's talk about them. SA Northern Ireland. What's your thoughts on them?
Yeah, following their year on 2016 exploits, I think going to the playoffs, I think that's something they should build on. I mean, even if they don't qualify for the World Cup, I think they could look at that as a positive and say, "Hey, why don't we try better for year 2020?"
Yeah, but I mean, certainly from a fan's perspective, will they be pleased with that? I know it's a bit of a silly question, but do you feel that they'll at least be pleased that they've made it that far?
I think so. I mean, the expectations are fairly low, so.
I mean, bearing in mind, right, they had a group with Germany in, Czech Republic, Norway, not a bad side either. So they've done pretty well in my books, I feel, to have that playoff.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, okay. Josh, Northern Ireland, talk to me. What's your thoughts on Michael O'Neill's second place finish?
Well, I'm in the same boat as you, Dan. I think they've done really, really well to get to the playoff, despite their group. They had a very old group, to be fair, so they've done quite well. Should they make it, I think their fans would just be happy to be there. That they were for the Euros. But in fairness, they had a better Euro campaign than England. So, listen, they're a capable football team. And it wouldn't surprise me if we see them in Russia.
Here's to hoping. Let's hear from Alex Hutt. Alex, Northern Ireland. What impresses you about them?
It's got to be the team spirit, doesn't it? It's got to be, there's something about the entire, two nations of Ireland and Northern Ireland that there's just something about them. Every time they take the pitch, they've got such a pride to play for their country. They're like, come on, Northern Ireland. They just love it. Something that a lot of these other UK nations are lacking. And so, they don't, they tend to sort of go diving headfirst into all of these different situations where, in major tournaments and try their best to always get there. And I think they've got potential. I'm not gonna overweight them and put. Obviously they're all listening to this podcast, so I'm not gonna put too much pressure on the lads to get through to the finals. But the World Cup final. But I think they've got potential. But it's gonna be tough. But I think they can do some damage.
And let's hear from Charlie. Charlie, do you think they can make it through?
I think with Northern Ireland, they're one of those teams that definitely have potential to be a surprise package. And so I think if you look at the teams actually that are in the playoffs, they're going to have a really hard time getting through to the tournament itself. If you look at teams like Italy that are going to be in those playoffs, and it depends on the seeding, obviously. But I think they're one of those teams that do have the potential to be a surprise package.
Okay, and finally, Will, Northern Ireland, as I say, what do you think impresses you about them?
I think it's the same as Hutt said, really. It's a team that is pulled together by its nation. They all fight for each other. They all fight for the country. And, I mean, the sky is the limit, really. They've got no expectations going into any game that they play. They're the underdogs most of the time. So I think that helps them, that they like to defy the odds. I feel like they did that in the Euros. If they can get through the qualifiers, I mean, it's just great for the nation.
Cool, good stuff. Just wanted to say as well, thank you for some of the questions and the comments that have come in so far. I will read them out in due course. Probably at the end of the show when we have the time. Okay, moving on. We're a little bit tight for time anyway. Let's talk about the other two home nation sides who play tonight in a grueling clash, which will ultimately decide which one of the two, hopefully at least one of the two, will go through to the World Cup. So, I mean, I don't know if you're aware of the current situation in that group. So we're talking about Group D. Serbia are top with 18 points. Then it's Wales in second with 17 points, and Republic of Ireland with 16 points. So yeah, at least one of those two will at least make a second place playoff. But obviously, Wales play Republic of Ireland tonight. Who do you think is going to come out on top from tonight's game?
Well, going on the squad and form, I'd have to go for Wales tonight. I just feel like in areas they're just far superior. They have the quality of Premier League players, obviously a few Championship players muck in. But I feel like they have a system. They know it works. They have belief. So, I'd have to back Wales tonight.
Josh, any chance of a Republic of Ireland win tonight, or is it all going to be Wales?
They're fighting to get to the tournament at the end of the day, so there's every chance they might win. But for me, even without Gareth Bale, I can't see past Wales. They've got a fantastic team there, and I'm sure they'll ease through.
Okay, we'll go to Alex first, then Charlie. What's your thoughts? Who's going to win tonight?
I've got to agree and say Wales. Most of my points have already been said, so I'll just gloss over it. I just think that they've got a stronger team even without Bale. They've got a good camaraderie between the lads, and I think with certain other players coming in sort of help make up for the loss of Bale. It's actually gone quite well for them, and I think it's definitely going to be them that come out on top tonight.
Charlie?
I'm going to be that guy that takes the other side of this, to be honest. I think if you look at the Republic of Ireland team, they've actually got quite a few players in there that could potentially change the game. And if you look at that Wales team, there are players in there that are maybe a bit shaky than people like to give them credit for. And so I think if you look, it's going to be a very tight game. I think it will be practically a 50-50. And it will come down to whoever puts their chances away. And actually, without Shane Long, the Republic maybe have a chance of someone like Daryl Murphy who can actually put the chances away.
And finally, let's go to SA. SA, who do you think is going to win?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think it's tight for me. It's really tight. Last time they drew, right? So
yeah, 0-0. Yeah.
I think despite Ireland not having Shane Long and Wales not having Gareth Bale, it's going to be tight. I'm going to go for a draw.
That's interesting because draw would obviously suit Wales, but not suit Republic of Ireland. Now, if you was Chris Coleman, SA, how would you look to approach this game?
I'd look to approach it with confidence, but also with caution. As I know the threat Ireland would bring.
Okay, Josh, if you was the Welsh manager, would you approach the game wanting to win or holding out for the draw first and going from there?
Well, they want to end qualifying on the win. There's no doubt about it. You want to win even if there's nothing riding on it. So yeah, you go for the win, and I'm certain they'll get it.
Okay, and let's go to the three boys. Let's go to Will, Charlie, and Hut. Again, how do you guys think they'll approach this game tonight? Are they going to shut up shop from the start, or are they going to go and try and nick a goal first?
I mean, as was just mentioned, they approach every game the same, to be honest, as what they've been doing. This game is no different. I think they should approach it going for the win. I mean, obviously there is that slight caution there, but I feel that as it's a home nation derby, it's one of those that you really want to win.
Cool. Pumphrey?
Yeah, I think these sorts of games you can't go into them with, like Will said, you can't go into any different to any other game. So I think if you try and psych yourself up for the match, you might end up losing focus. And so I think, really, like I said earlier, it's going to come down to whoever's the most ready. I think.
And finally, of course, Alex Hart.
Well, you know, again, most of what I think has been said. The both teams, you know, so I can't remember who it was that said it. But they said something along the lines of they want to go into this last game with a win. Well, I'm sure they wanted to go into all of their games and get a win, but I think this one could be a little bit more important, just to sort of keep the squad morale high. And yeah, not really too much more to add to it than that.
Okay, so just going to give you guys a moment to think. I've got two questions before we end this World Cup segment. And we're going to... The first question is, who are the overachievers of the World Cup qualifiers, in your opinion? And who are the underachievers of the World Cup qualifiers? So have a quick think. In the meantime, I'm going to read out the current standings in our poll that has... has just finished, actually, literally just finished. So here are the final results. 16% have gone for England winning the World Cup. Interesting. 26% have gone for the semi-final / quarter-final stage. 32%, and this is the majority, have gone for the knockout rounds. And 26% feeling a bit pessimistic and don't think that England will make it out of the group stage. So interesting there. Thank you very much for your responses there. Let's get straight back into the questions then. Let's go to SA first. Who would you say is the biggest overachiever of the World Cup qualifiers so far?
I'd say Iceland, because they've qualified for the only second ever tournament. And
okay. Go on.
my underachiever would be, well, Netherlands. Where do they go from here? I mean, having been World Cup semi-finalists 3 years ago, and they reached the previous World Cup final before that as well. To fail to qualify for successive tournaments, wow, that is a huge one for Netherlands.
Yeah, it sure is for a country of that size and that sort of footballing stature as well to not qualified. Yeah, good points there. Let's bring in Josh. Who's your biggest overachievers and underachievers?
Overachievers for me would be Syria. I mean, what they've done, you know, is absolutely fantastic. With everything that's going on in that country, I mean, they've all pulled together, and to even get anywhere near close to qualify with the team they have is unbelievable and should be recognised. Underachievers, I'll probably have to agree with SA and say Netherlands.
Okay. Thanks for that. Let's go to Will.
As in for overachievers, I think I'd go for Switzerland. It's a bit out there, but they've won every game so far, I believe, in their group. So, I mean, they've got Portugal, Hungary, which aren't easy. Hungary showed in the Euros that they were a good opposition. And biggest underachievers, I mean, obviously I have to agree with Netherlands, but then a team like, I don't really know, Scotland, I was very disappointed that Scotland didn't qualify. I felt like they had enough firepower and they're in a good enough position to qualify.
Okay, thank you for that. We're going to go to Alex now.
My biggest overachievers is probably one of the big football stories this last week, which is Egypt. It's fantastic that they've made it this far again after, it's been since, I think, 1990. But just going back, have Syria qualified for the World Cup?
I don't think they have yet.
No, they haven't.
No.
But they drew 1-1 against Australia in the first leg of the playoffs.
Okay. I didn't know if they'd qualified. If they had, then fair play to them. I hope they do. That'd be great for the Syrian people. And then my biggest overachiever would definitely be Egypt. But then my biggest underachiever, I don't know. It's a tough one. I guess the Netherlands maybe. Argentina are obviously underachieving quite badly now as well. And, we'll see if Messi can pull out a one-man army sort of performance in their next game. So those would probably be the two for me.
Yeah, the Argentina one, that's a very tight group. Obviously it's slightly different to the European qualification process, but it's a really tight group. I don't know if you guys have all seen that, but it could be an interesting final game there, I think.
I think it could get quite feisty as well. So I'll be sure to try and give that one a good watch.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's literally like a couple of points between 4 or 5 teams, I think. I could be wrong, but yeah, I think there's quite a few teams competing for some spaces there. And as you agree, as you say, I agree. It could get feisty, so I'm certainly looking forward to seeing some of that. Okay, let's go to Charlie then. Charlie, who's your overachievers and underachievers?
For my overachievers, I'm going to go for someone actually a little bit more out there. I'm going to go for Saudi Arabia. Stop it. Who are one of the first teams to be qualified for the World Cup, actually. Even though that's just how the fixtures work. So it's their first appearance since like 2006. And so I think it's actually, for a country like that, it puts on a real positive face to the rest of the world.
Charlie, can I just ask who was in the group?
I haven't actually looked at the groups yet.
That's okay. That's okay. I just didn't know they had to play against it.
I mean, they beat Australia to get there, so it's quite a big deal.
Fair enough.
And for my underachievers, I'm probably actually going to go with Australia, to be honest. But back to the Asians, I actually have to go to a playoff for a country that seems to qualify every time. It's I think for them quite disappointing, and they've probably got a lot to say about their defence. They haven't been able to score. They haven't been able to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for that one. We are almost at the end of the show, so thank you very much for your comments on the overachievers, underachievers. We're just going to go to a few of the questions that have been sent in. So let's go to we've got 2 from David Moat. So number 1 is, should Henderson be dropped from the England squad? Let's go to Josh first. Do you think Henderson should be dropped?
Dropped from the squad or the starting lineup?
It says from the England squad.
There's certainly better players in his position than himself. But at the same time, Jake Livermore shouldn't be in the squad either. So I'm going to say yes.
Okay. Let's go to Alex now. Alex, what do you think? Should Henderson be dropped from the England squad?
Absolutely. It's no secret among me and my friends that I think he's probably the worst player in the England team. I despise watching him play. When he plays for Liverpool, I don't mind it, but there's just something that switches in his brain when he plays for England, that he can only make a backwards or a... See, you've touched a nerve now. You can only a sideways or a backwards pass. He doesn't know how to pass forward. I genuinely think that somebody oh God,
someone's flicked a switch, yeah.
Better than him, and always on. And like, it's there's so many different players that you could play in that centre mid role. I'd even question bringing in someone like Rooney if you were willing to change the formation a little bit.
Just retired.
Oh, of course he has. That's my fault. People like Wilshere. I'm being told from behind the scenes to definitely say Wilshere, and I agree with that. But I think I'd rather play with 10 men than have Jordan Henderson near this.
Wow! Let's go to Will. Will, come on, Will. I know you can't wait to get back in on this one.
Scouser.
Nah. I think dropping him from the squad is slightly harsh, especially when you've got players like Jalen Moore in the squad who just aren't good enough. But in terms of the starting 11, if we're playing a team that sits off against us, I don't think he should start. I think you drop someone deeper like Adam Lallana when he comes back. But no, definitely not drop Henderson from the squad. He's a good asset to have.
Okay, let's hear Charlie's thoughts. Charlie's sort of the middleman, I suppose, in that room right now. Charlie, which way are you swaying?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. At the moment, Jordan Henderson is in the starting 11 for England, isn't he? There aren't actually, other than like Eric Dyer, who's very similar. I don't think there's actually anyone that can do that job.
I could
as well. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Are you kind of? Yeah. I think we've had some technical.
Eric Dyer and
there we go. Okay, yeah. Go on. Continue. You sort of cut out for a second.
Oh. Yeah, I think for Jordan Henderson, he's the best sort of man for that role at the moment in midfield. But there are others that, to be fair, in time, if we are going to start to become more creative in that centre, you're going to have to look for something a little bit more adventurous than Jordan Henderson, definitely.
Okay, let's hear Essay's thoughts. Essay, should we be looking for someone a bit more adventurous than Jordan Henderson?
Jordan Henderson, thing is though, moving the thoughts of will. He's good for Liverpool, but for England, he really isn't at the races. I think a better midfielder than him would be Wilshere, and that's no Arsenal bias, by the way. I think if you could bring in Wilshere,
who's injured for the next 12 months? Who's your next option?
Oh yeah, because Wilshere's quite injury prone, isn't he?
Very injury prone. Yeah, that's one of the defining features of it.
Oh god, I'm actually hoping Wilshere can stay injury free this season.
But I mean,
but hoping won't actually make it happen. I think that's the point that he's making.
You've got to follow plan B here. You can't just it's gonna work.
Oh well.
Okay.
Well, in a hypothetical world, then I hope that Wilshere does stay fit, and if he does do that, he could potentially replace Henderson.
Or Stephen Jones.
Well, just to stick a name in the hat there, Dave has put another sort of message. He's put John Joe for England.
Trust the Newcastle fan.
I think we know the secret motive of that question.
Also, I didn't realise we all want England style.
Can I just throw out a suggestion there? What about someone like Jack Harrison, one of the younger players? Yeah, I know. Listen. I know he's not a centre midfielder, but
the right winger, he replaces CDM.
If you watch some of the stuff that he's played, he plays some really interesting football, really good stuff. I think he's got the potential there. Another player is, I know he's playing left back right now, but Delph, I think, is fantastically creative, and I think he has the potential to be quite a good centre mid as well.
Okay, we've got to move it on. Very interesting there. Thank you. Another question from Dave, and then we've got another one from Callum. He asks, who will be the Premier League Player of the Month, as he needs to be ready to invest in the FIFA 18 Squad Builder Challenge. So who will be the Premier League Player of the Month? Let's go to Alex first this time. Alex.
This one's Premier League. Yeah, it's got to be Kevin De Bruyne. Got to be Kevin De Bruyne. I think, aside from the fact that I think he's probably the best player in the league, and I'd put him in top 5 or 10 in the world right now. I think he's just been magical this last few weeks. Obviously rescued that game against Chelsea just to start, but so for me, it's got to be Kevin De Bruyne.
Okay, I'm hearing some laughter, so I'm guessing there's some disagreement in that room. Charlie, Will?
I mean, if I'm going to go first, if you're looking at player of the month, you'll look at the man who's made the biggest impact on his team. And for me, no bias whatsoever, it's got to be Pascal Gross. The man who's come straight into the team, and he's created most of our goals. And if you look, he's run the furthest distance in the league most week. If you're going to do player of the month, you've got to do the man with the biggest influence.
Okay. Will?
I'd personally say Sergio Aguero for his contributions. I know he missed the game at the end of the month, but for someone like Dave investing in players to make money, you put enough money on the game, so you don't need to do that. You've already spent the bank account.
Okay. SA, who should be the Premier League player of the month?
I know it's most people's names on lips, but I'd say Lukaku. I think his goals have propelled Manchester United to the top so far, but they're not my favourites for the league itself. However, but Lukaku definitely player of the month.
Okay, and Josh, who's your player of the month
Harry Kane.
and why?
He's just been absolutely prolific. He can get one chance in one game and he'll score it. He'll put it away. He's been fantastic for Tottenham and he's really stepped up the last few weeks. Hence, room and interest from Real Madrid.
It's quite interesting though that there we've just had 5 different answers. Danny,
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I would lean towards Harry Kane, just purely for what he's done for my fantasy league team. I would have gone Aguero, but unfortunately he had that incident and sort of missed the last bit of the month. But Harry Kane, this sort of last 4 weeks has sort of exploded into his normal form. So. Yeah, I would edge towards him. But as you say, Alex, it's incredible, isn't it? Really, that we've had all different players and suggestions for this. So I think that sort of says how close and competitive this league it really is this season. So we'll certainly be close. Certainly will be interesting to see who ends up winning and come May. But anyway, we want to move on to another question. This is sent in by Cal. We don't have much time, but we're going to answer this one. He asks, is Doncaster Rovers, going to stay up this season? Now, they're currently 17th in League One. They are, I believe, 4 points off the drop. Unless I'm wrong, it's either 4 points or 3 points off the drop. Charlie, what do you think? Donny Rovers going to stay up?
I mean, if you're in League One's a very competitive league, and I think anyone can beat anyone. But there's an obvious lack of quality in that Doncaster Rovers team. I just don't know if they've got what it takes to stay in that division.
Okay, sure, fair enough. Will?
I mean, I was at the Emirates and watched Doncaster in the FA Cup. I thought they had enough in their squad. I think Jamie Coppinger will score a few pens for them this season, so I think they might be all right.
Hold on. When did Doncaster face Arsenal in the FA Cup?
League Cup.
There we go.
Okay, SA, let's hear your thoughts then.
Honestly, I don't really watch League One football, but when I do, I'm following like Walsall. So I think the question that should be asked is, are Walsall actually going to do anything? Because they always seem to be like that mid-table club. Because they're one of those clubs that are too good to go down, but probably not good enough to go up.
Okay, but you're not too sure about Doncaster though. You don't get to see much of them.
Not really, no.
No, okay, that's fair enough. Josh, Doncaster Rovers, they going to stay up this year?
Well, my first point, Walsall definitely aren't too good to go down. Let me get that point across. Second point, all teams that stay up have one thing in League One, and that's a goal scorer. And Doncaster Rovers have that in John Marquis. He's been okay this season. He was phenomenal in League Two last season. I do expect him to pick up. Alfie May has been fantastic for Doncaster of late. So I think there will be 4 worse teams in the division than Doncaster. So yes, they will stay up.
Okay, and I'm trying to think, who haven't I got the opinion of yet? Is it Alex?
Yeah, it's just me.
Sorry, Alex. There you go.
I think they'll stay up. I'm going to agree and say that all League One teams really need a good goal scorer to stay up. But, and it's a big but, I do think they do have a slight lack of that goal scoring quality throughout the team. So it'll be interesting. I do think they'll stay up. How close it'll be, I don't know.
Okay, and very quickly on the topic of League One, Josh, talk to me. Gillingham, are they going to stay up?
No, they won't.
You sacked him, though. You sacked your manager.
We did, but for the time being, we've got Peter Taylor, who is the second worst Gillingham manager I've ever seen. Only in front of the man we just sacked. So, yeah, it's pretty much no difference. Until we get in a good manager, nothing's going to change. And even with a good manager, the main problem is still there, and that's the owner of the football club, Paul Scally. So, no lack of investment, lack of ideas, lack of goals, lack of quality. We'll be in Sky Bet League 2 next season.
Fair
Unless there's some big investment in January. And they need to have an immediate impact. And that is asking for a lot.
Okay, well, here's hoping for you. Unfortunately, we've ran out of time, guys. Thank you very much to those who've put in comments, questions. I mean, our chat section is now sort of livening up a little bit. So thank you very much to those guys in there. But unfortunately, we ran out of time. I want to catch this Wales Republic of Ireland game just as much as I'm sure you guys do. So we're going to have to end it there for this evening. So just before we conclude tonight's show, we'll just go across the panel. Let's just have your socials so that any listeners can potentially follow you and maybe take the debate forward onto Twitter. So let's start off with Will.
Twitter.
Yeah.
At WLindsay24 or at WillLindsay24. I can't quite remember. Just follow either one. Somewhere out there is Twitter. Follow it. Why not yours?
You're just plugging someone else's Twitter. That's good. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, Charlie.
Charlie. You follow me at Charlie Pumphrey.
Cool. And Alex?
Mine is going to be at the Alex Hutt on both Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, cool. Essay?
My name is at A96 or AYE.
I'll give it a follow.
Cool. And Josh?
At TFF Josh.
Brilliant stuff. And mine is at Danny Cook 1996. So thank you very much to the panel tonight. Certainly an interesting and maybe heated at times debate. So thank you very much for your comments and thanks for getting involved.
See ya.
See ya. Fantastic. I've been your host, Danny Cook, and that is all for the 6th episode of TFF Talks Season 2, which was brought to you by Crowford Media and HalftimeCuppa.com and sponsored by Classic Lemon Shirts. Good night.